thank you very much to all of you for joining us for this seminar on linking green and social transition and on citizen involvement in the creation of local supply chains, and in particular the role of the social economy. But now I would give the floor to Isa from CIMAC, which is the leader of the SOECLOSE project. Isa, up to you.
Hello to all. In the name of the SOECLOSE project, I welcome you all in this webinar. I'm trying to share my, please let me know if it's working. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to get you through briefly through the main goals of the project and its context, and then I would like to focus more in the approach that we had in the first workshop of the project, because that's the main issues that I think we should try to connect with these examples that we are going to visit today in the webinar. So just a glimpse. SOECLOSE, it's co-financed by COSME program, which is a program directly from the European Commission. It is included in its Axis 7, which is to promote sustainable agriculture and rural development. The idea of COSME basically is to put different and try to change experiences and to get from there good practices that could be fostered in each territory. This I will not go through all of this, but this basically are the main points of the call of COSME in what concerns to sustainable agriculture and rural development goals. The SOECLOSE, it's promoted by 4 partners. One, the Intermunicipality Community of Central Alentejo, which is the coordinator, the Diputación de Almería from Spain, the Departement La Drôme from France, and then as an umbrella organization, REVES, which is so in generally what SOECLOSE promotes, and its main goal is to promote ecological transition in the territories of the project. And for this, we consider that short supply chains are fundamental to this transition. They allow local economies to grow. I'm sorry. They allow these short supply chains are fundamental, since they create dynamics on a local economy level. They increase proximity between producers and consumers' needs, and they promote a more sustainable agri-food production, generating green jobs embedded in local demand and responsible production models. This is the main topics of SOECLOSE. So the main challenge is how to use social economy in agri-food short supply chains to address economic, social, and environmental decline in vulnerable areas. And in order to do this, all the partners of SOECLOSE put in action what we call the local networks, inviting several entities with specific action in these dimensions, that can provide important contributes and experiences to the project main goals. The project is organized by 3 workshops with 3 different thematics. We already had the first workshop, which I will go further in the next slides. And we share in this workshop these principles. So we want to utilize small production and small processing structures. to increase sustainable management and reducing the food ecological footprint, to go for food sovereignty and foster local production, and of course to preserve biodiversity and protection of traditional production techniques, and to value the social role of the farmer figure. Besides the 3 workshops, then we have 3 webinars that intend to connect the themes that we addressed in the workshops, increasing the diffusive knowledge on social economy role in short supply chain. This is the first webinar, and 2 more will follow always after the workshops that we organized. And in these workshops, these local networks that I talked to you previously, they meet and they share experiences and ideas. Unfortunately, the first workshop had to be in a virtual way, which poses some difficulties, but we hope that the next 2 can be online, can be for alive, I don't know how to say, and the next one will be in France, dedicated to organic food in September, we hope. So what I would like to bring to the discussion is the ideas of the first workshop, which was about building trust in local economy short supply chains. So we present and debate how can we connect the certification and label processes in the short supply circuits and products. So we had several examples of a more formal certification and informal or absence of certification processes, but the main focus is on the creation of trust. So is certification the only guarantee of trust? Does informal participative certification can also generate trust? What is the role of association or consumers group organization in the promotion of short circuits? What should the public entities do in order to promote local and solidary economies? So the first workshop, we were around these thematics, and the main topics to reflect, one of the transversal issue to all the workshop is one has to define what is local. Does a product transform locally, but origin in some place else can be considered local? Participants apparently tend to defend that local implies local, assuming its seasonality, and a local transformation based on local labor. Certification of products and short circuits guarantees traceability and differentiation from wholesale trade. So by this reason, we can consider that it generates trust. However, when it becomes complex and huge, it can exclude small producers or sellers from the process, without support from organization as public sector or association that act as mediators. And I think we'll have some examples on this in this webinar. On the other hand, more informal processes can also be important to promote local economy. These are not based in certification, but in what we call participative certification, where one part of the chain certifies another part of the chain. This is generating trust. But if we go under big circuits and the number of persons involved in the chain is too high, this can create problems in the traceability of the products, for instance. This could be a disadvantage, but also, on the other hand, as we saw in the workshop, it creates a high level of participation, including the consumers, which should be the high point of all the short circuits, because if we if we push for more responsible consumers, then all these issues, I'm convinced that they will move forward. So it's a matter of balance between what we debate in the workshop, between more formal certification or participative certification. And we concluded that it depends a bit on the territories and on the networks, but at the end, the importance is to generate trust. So if I trust that that product which is being sold as local, it's actually local, it can work. In places where this trust is harder to build, where we should go for certification process that validates that a local product is in fact local or organic, and that the circuit or the chain is actually short when it's meant to be short. We also concluded that public food services can perform as school canteens, hospital cafeterias, etc., can perform a very important role in local and social economy. They foster territorial development. They can contribute to a lower carbon footprint when based in local jobs and small local business. They can act on local quality supply. Their menus are also fundamental in changing consumers' behaviors, educating people for the importance of seasonal menus or products. So local and regional governments should play an important regulation, training, and supportive role in this area, including the public demand legislation, which also a conclusion of the workshop seemed to be very detached from these small producers or short chain supply. So something needs to be done in order they can compete in a legal and transparent way. So I don't want to go longer and respect my 10 minutes, I hope. Thank you very much. This is what I have to leave you to connect with the very good examples that we are about to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isa. So what we would like to deepen in this workshop, in this webinar today, is this issue of trust, of building trust relationships and cooperation between different actors on the territory, public, private, including, of course, the social economy, and citizens itself. And here for us, the social economy has really a vital role to play, and this is why we prepared this seminar with the specific examples you will have the possibility to listen to. Just as a reminder, what do we mean actually when we talk about the social economy? So talking about the social economy, we think of organizations and enterprises that actually place the person and the social objective and not the maximization of capital and profits really at the center of their activities. Organizations that are democratically controlled and that follow main principles such as solidarity, responsibility, cooperation, and participation. Social economy, and I think this is what we will see now with the different examples that will be presented here. They are actually through their local roots and networks and through their general interest-related mission able to reach out to and create trust between different stakeholders, and also able to mobilize resources around a shared vision. And maybe this is also something we will have to add and we should have a closer look at now during the following discussions. It's not just about a relationship or a supply chain, but it is about much more, about a vision of local development, about a vision of how actually our economic system should work, society should work, about a vision in which different elements, the economic one, but also social, environmental, and agricultural elements are taken into account, and in which also the points of view of different persons, citizens are integrated. I think we'll see this quite well now with the first example, the food belt of Charleroi, and I would like to welcome Jean-François Herz from SOECLOSE. SOECLOSE is a social economy platform in the French-speaking part, or the social economy platform, maybe the bringing together French-speaking social economy in Brussels and Wallonia. And you're much more, however, Jean-François, than a federation, just than a platform and its members. You're also research body, I would say, with very interesting analysis around different kind of topics. You're a development agency, actually, helping new social economy initiatives to set themselves up or just to strengthen their activities. But you're also, I don't know how you would describe yourself, quite an interesting animator, even within territories, within regions, provinces, etc., bringing together different kind of stakeholders and kind of stimulating the creation of new projects around different topics. And I think also the food belt, as we find it in Charleroi, maybe there's another one in Liège, but it's quite one of the first in Belgium, also in Europe. I'm not sure if there are that many examples. The floor is yours. I will stop.
Thank you, Erdmuthe. It was a nice presentation of SOECLOSE. So SOECLOSE, who are we? We are a federation and an association whose mission is to defend and deploy the social economy in the French-speaking part of Belgium as a credible and concrete alternative to the dominant economic model. We have three main missions. Maybe I should. Oops. Voilà. We have three main missions, which is, as a federation, we question, we want to be a force of criticism and proposals. We support to strengthen the impact and sustainability of social enterprises, and we innovate, and we tend to be a research and experimentation lab for the social economy. We have 4 services. We support and advise social enterprises. We sensitize and train people. We facilitate and bring different stakeholders together, different citizens, public services, and so on. And we evaluate. And when I say evaluate, it's mainly the social impact of social enterprises. We have. A few years ago, we chose to develop on our own some projects on specific territories, and we developed the Ceinture Alimentaire, the Charleroi food belt in Charleroi. We developed an incubator in Brussels. You might know it's Coop City, and Kaba is a small food cooperative in Brussels. Voilà. Yes, we write also 15 working papers per year, and voilà, it's a few figures. Voilà. But why I'm here, it's to speak about Charleroi food belt. So the food belt is it's a large network of actors of the food sector in Charleroi. It was initiated in 2017, and farmers, retailers, distributors association, citizens, we want them to share the same values, and we want them to cooperate to address the issues related to the food on this territory and find an economic and human balance for each. What is important is environment, health, and farmers. That are the 3 main topics in this project. So, what are the ambition of the Charleroi food belt? It's to give access to all the inhabitants of Charleroi Metropole to organic, affordable and local food, as well as a fair distribution between all actors of the production and supply chain. We all know that the balance of power between mass distribution and producers is very difficult and puts the price down. One of our consultants made a research, and market gardeners' average income is between 4 and 7 euros per hour, which is very, very low. So that was one of our ambition to compensate and to break this balance of power. Another ambition is to encourage and the development of a local, peasant and organic agriculture. Charleroi Métropole, a few words, it's 30 boroughs, it's almost 600,000 inhabitants, 2,000 square kilometers, and it's very urbanized in the north with the main city Charleroi, and it's very, very rural and in the south of this area. So what are the goals and the main activities? The first step was a territorial diagnosis, and the development of a local actors network. So Erdmuthe, you spoke about deepen the trust, and that was our main aim at the beginning of the project. And we have to work to do that. We needed to work with citizens, with social enterprises, with farmers. Everybody needs to be included if you want to lead such a project and to deepen the trust. We also want, I will speak about that a bit later, development of economic agreements within the local intercooperation circles. I will speak about this in a few minutes. Facilitation and support to emerging startups projects, development and management of short circuit supply chain, which is one, as you may know, one of the main issue, of course, public communication and citizen mobilization and social affordability of local organic foods. Charleroi is an area which, it's a region which is quite poor and has, well, it's in old industrial area and with an employment rate which is quite high. So our aim is to give access to all people to healthy food, and not only to people who can afford to pay a bit more. That was an important part of the project. So it's a partnership. SOEB is a coordinator, but we also work with Bio Wallonie, with Espace Environnemental, other actors of the territory. And in last year, we created a new cooperative whose aim is to transport and sell local farmers' production to local shops, restaurants, and canteens. So this part of the project is now led and managed by a separate cooperative. What is at the core of the project? Cooperation, intercooperation, mutualization, solidarity, bottom-up, and concertation. That's the main topics who are at the core of the project. What is intercooperation? Deepen the trust means work with farmers, as I said, distributors, and consumers. So the food belt is at the center of this, and we create places where everybody can express its needs, where a common vision is built, and where we develop knowledge, commitment, and action. And the balance of power is quite equilibrated, and which is not the case with mass distribution, of course. And that's one of the main aim. To be more concrete, the aim is to negotiate the prices and to negotiate the volumes on a medium term, on one season. So everybody knows, the distributors will know they will access to the same price and and same volume, and the farmers know they can sell at this price, and that the volumes of they will produce will be bought by the distributors, which is very important. But what are the developments and the action in progress? It's the emergence of projects, new actors, new partners. They all began on a territorial diagnosis, and 3 key areas were identified. That's the marketing, logistics, and product processing. I will speak about it in a few moments. So what's here today? It's a structural development of the offer. There are not enough shops and groceries today to sell this food, but and the offer is, there is a lack. That's one of the issues, maybe, yes. There's a lack of local organic producers. The demand is much higher than the offer, and we need to work with Bio-Wallonie, which is a regional association who promotes organic food and who helps the farmers to convert to organic. There is a lack of locally transformed products. Most of the products who are produced in Charleroi Metropole or even in Wallonia are not transformed in Wallonia. They are transformed in the north of Belgium very often, but also in France or in Germany or in the Netherlands. So the aim is to develop a small transformation industry in Wallonia, and one of the projects to do that is to develop a business cooperative, a business and an employment cooperative. And as you know, and it's one of the topics of this webinar, logistics is crucial. It has a very high impact on the price, especially if the volumes are low, and high investments are needed. What we did, we have 2 small hubs now, so investment was needed, and we have a shared e-commerce application in terms of logistics. What are the perspectives for next year? And for this year and next year, it's to support the development of sustainable canteens. And we have a test phase. We began with 2 local canteens, and by the end of the year, we should provide local and organic food to 10 school canteens in the Charleroi Metropole. Implementation of a business and employment cooperative, as I said, for food transformation jobs. That's more for next year. And yes, the aim is to boost the creation of development of food startups active in the food processing, local food, because the margins you can make is on transformed food more than on selling directly fruits and vegetables. Voilà. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Jean-François. Are there any questions? Somebody who would like to ask a question among the participants? Please do not hesitate. And you should be able also, I think, Luigi, can you confirm to do it in the respective language?
Yeah, sure. There is a question in the chat, and
yes,
Carolina will raise her hand.
Yeah.
Yes, I know you spoke just before. Charleroi is just for organic food, indeed. It was a very difficult choice we made at the beginning. There's still a lot of questions about that. I'm not surprised it's the first question, but yes, you spoke just before the trust, and there are different other ways, but it's difficult. It was the only way to be sure that food would be organic. There are different other methods. I know some of them in France, but they are not very much developed. I don't know the English word, le système participatif garanti, it's called in France, I think, with SPG, and it's not much developed in Belgium at this point.
Okay, there is a question in Spanish. How did this initiative came into being? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it start?
How did it start? How did it start? I think that the first step was we always worked with a lot of farmers, and the first step was really the balance of power between mass distribution and those farmers who are very poor indeed, 4 euros per hour, and working 12 hours or 15 hours a day, and then the big mass distributions company like Carrefour, Deleuze, and Colruyt in Belgium. So the balance power was really not equilibrated, and that was the motivation for SOEB to do something for that. That was, I think, the first thought and the first step of this food label.
Anaïsa is asking, how do you guarantee that it's organic? Is there any label on products?
Yes, it's labeled. There is labels. It's labelized always. It's the only guarantee we have.
Okay. Anybody else has a question? Otherwise, I would like to know, Jean-François, which were maybe the challenges you met in the very beginning of the initiative, because I think it's not that easy. You brought together different enterprises. You brought together farmers, distributors, consumers, other parts of the value chain, but what were the main challenges in the development of the vision, of also regarding the actions you would then take, and also what I would be interested in is the cooperation maybe with public authorities. Did you get any support?
Okay. First question: what are the main challenges? If you want to scale up, the main challenge is logistics. So it's simple as that. With low volume, you need investments, and you need transportation, and the impact on the price is quite high. And so the main challenge is to put together a logistic systems, and it's still a challenge today and for the coming years. That's really the main challenge, I think, today. Another challenge is, yes, to be supported by the public authorities. We are supported, of course, by the Wallonia region, and that's great, and we are more and more supported. But still, maybe the European plans for post-COVID will be a great opportunities to invest in logistics. But still, when you compare the volumes that I treated by a food belt, it's still not enough to faire bouger les lignes. I don't know how to say it in English. Erdmuthe, you can maybe help me on that, but to be really a breaker or something like that. So the volumes are still very low, and the third challenge is, all like as in France or other countries, the whole traders, food whole traders, are developing organic, local initiatives, and voila, it's a real competition, and it's fake. I don't know how to tell it, but we don't believe in that. Absolutely not. And we in the food belt, and that's a decision we make at the beginning. We won't sell to them. We won't sell the locally produced food to Carrefour, Deleuze, and so on. That's a decision.
Yeah, that's something we spoke about also in the first workshop, and I think there we also said it would be really, really important to all the more important to carry out this also awareness raising work towards citizens. Can you maybe shortly explain, because also there you're active and you're developing, I think, actions, initiatives to mobilize also citizens, to make them become more aware of the need to support this type of actors instead of running to the big supermarkets. And then, sorry, I also saw the questions in the chat. We will go to that. And I just wanted to connect quickly to what he said.
Yes, at the beginning of the project, at least we organized a lot of workshops, seminars with citizens, and it's really important. We made a seminar which was really interesting at the beginning. The difference between organic, in French it's agriculture raisonnée, agroecology, and all these concepts. We made different workshops, and it's still important to mobilize citizens, but you need to be supported to do that. But it's an important part of the project, of course. If the citizens are not mobilized, it's difficult to carry on such a project, of course. There's
a question. Yeah, there's a question on the business and employment cooperative.
Yeah.
Could you give some more details?
Could you give some details on how it works, or it's supposed to work, the type of jobs? In French, you say coopérative d'activité ou coopérative et coopérative d'emploi. It's mainly for startups or for people who are in transition. Some of them can be unemployed, and so they can test their activities during 18 or 24 months. They won't lose access to unemployment wages. And then they don't need to create their own company. They can use the VAT number of the cooperative. So it's a way to develop its own business, to test it, to make some experimentation without taking too much risk. And so as you know, in French we say les mimiculteurs. That's farmers that come mainly from big cities, who are marketing managers or financial analysts, and they want to convert and to be new farmers, and this type of cooperative can be very useful for them to test if their idea works or not. In some cooperative, it's also possible to make some investments and to share investments.
There was also another question before. What is the area? How big are the areas, the work areas of the farmers? So the surface they use.
That's a good question. It's how big is the surface? It depends. It's minimum 15 acres. 15 acres. We have a lot of small, quite small producers, and that's we also want to support them, but it's sometimes quite difficult to support them because how can I say, sometimes it's very difficult to produce on a small surface, and you have it's really underestimated, the technical skills you need to be a small producer. So voilà, but it's at least 15 acres. That's the minimum. The most important argument to make local producers join the initiative, to be honest, the most important argument is to sell their products. Really, yeah. How to mobilize producers? The first thing is to sell their products, and that's what we made. You won't mobilize them if you, with seminars like with citizens. You need really to be concrete and operational and sell their products at a good price and enough.
Anna Maria was just referring back to, to her question regarding the area. So, Anna Maria, would you maybe like to speak so interpreters can then translate? No?
I will try to translate
it. The question is, what is the distance between the different areas of the different surfaces which are produced, where there is the production? That is the distance between the farms, actually. This is a question, it's a debate that came up during the last meeting. That was, what is the distance between the places that produces and the consumer place, and an issue of short or long distance between the different parts.
In this area, there is an issue. It's you have a big city in the north of Charleroi Metropole and a lot of producers in the south. So the distance between the consumers and the farms can be a bit long, but the distance between different farms is quite short. But it's always difficult to put together an efficient logistics. You have to. The problem is the volumes are not very high at this moment, and that's why we developed two mini hubs, one in the south, one more in the north, and this mini hub, so farmers can bring their goods to this mini hub, and then a transporter is searching the goods and the products in this mini hub to bring them to the north. You have to do it with mini hubs. That's the best solution, we think.
Maybe just Jean-François, just to make to help our non-Belgian colleagues to understand how big is the province of Charleroi. What is the dimension we are talking about? I mean, it's not
2,000. It's 2,000 square meters, square kilometers, and from the north to the south, it's 80 kilometers.
Yeah, so maximum distance is 80 kilometers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not very large. Right.
Thank you very much, Jean-François. If there aren't any other questions, then I think we move on to Maëlanne Bonnicel. Now with Jean-François, we could share information or got an insight into an initiative which was launched by, very much also stimulated by a social economy platform in Belgium. Now we go to an initiative actually which has at its point of departure really a citizen initiative. So initiatives taken by a group of citizens, initially or mostly in the beginning in bigger cities, but which actually had also the same objective to ensure accessibility of food, of quality food, to contribute also to the development of sustainable agriculture and sustainable local supply chains, and which had also this aspect of ensuring fair distribution and solidarity relationships between producers and consumers. Maëlanne, I think I don't see you. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
The floor is yours. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Erdmuthe, for inviting me to present the participative and cooperative supermarket model. So myself, I'm French, and I've been implicated. I'm French and I live in Hamburg in Germany now. I've been implicated on and off since 2013 in this model. Took part in the implementation of Coopérative La Louve in Paris, which was the first cooperative using this model in Europe. And we also were lucky enough to go spend 6 weeks in 2013 at the Park Slope Food Co-op, which is the oldest cooperative following this model, which is still in operations today and which is really our source of inspiration for the model today. This is why we don't well, this is not just the participative supermarket model, participative and cooperative supermarket model, but it's also known as the Park Slope Food Coop model. So I'm going to refer quite a lot to this term, or just Park Slope model for shorts. And now I'm actually living in Hamburg and trying to also implement this model here in Hamburg. We hope to be able to open in 2022. And there are quite a lot of projects. Bees Co-op in Brussels that opened in 2017. Many projects in France. I know there are also projects with the same model in Spain. Maybe in Italy, well, in a lot of countries, and there are quite a lot of projects also in Germany, but none of them have yet opened their shop. Hopefully this will be the case in a few weeks in Munich. So I'm going to start by presenting you the model's principles and its observed positive impacts. And then if we have time, so Erdmuthe, you'll let me know, try to dive a little deeper in the topics purchasing and supply chains and logistics. So the model's principles, well, actually, I kind of like the Park Slope Food Coop's motto, which is good food at low prices for working members since 1973, because that is the date when the Park Slope Food Coop was founded. So what are the principles of the model? So first, and that's a very important specificity, it's that it's a full-size supermarket, meaning more than 800 square meters surface, ideally rather 1,500 square meters. And it provides a full range of everyday products in different versions. That means organic, local, fair trade, bulk, maybe 80% of offer, but also some conventional products. And that's very important because the first objective of the project is cooperation and democracy and accessibility. And the idea is that it is necessary to inclusively accommodate all needs from for the members. And another thing, why does it have to be so big? As there are many reasons, but I'll go in a little bit more into detail about that later. But it has also to be a one-stop shopping destination, because one of the other particularities of the model is that members, shopping is only open to members. Membership is open to everyone. But to be able to shop there, you need to work in the shop 3 hours every 4 weeks. Of course, there is flexibility with regards to that. Only members physically or mentally able to do so have to work. But this is really what is important about the model. So the shop belongs to the members. They have a share. New members, the investing amount is rather modest. For example, in France, but this is also the same amount in dollars in the US, is 100 euros one time or 10 euros for welfare recipients. It's also possible to pay in installments and to get your investment back if you leave the co-op. So that's the first thing. The shop is member owned and the shop is member operated. So 3 hours every 4 weeks. No, I'm sorry, I'm actually not sharing a presentation. I didn't have time to do one, but if you like, I can share quite a lot of links in the chat later so that you can have the names of all the different models. And I will also share a link to a movie that Tom Booth, the founder of La Louve, made about Park Slope Food Coop. That's actually quite interesting to see because you really get to see what kind of atmosphere is there. So shopping is open only to members and they need to work 3 hours every 4 weeks. And that is exactly one of the reasons why we need the shop to be a one-stop shopping destination, because it's difficult to ask people to come and work in a shop 3 hours per month without being able to do most of their shopping there. And naturally, there are not only members working in the shop, but there is a staff of paid employees that manage the operations. That means purchasing, accounting, organization, naturally, of member participation. And the idea is that these are quality jobs, as a well-paid. In Park Slope in New York, the average wage, the wage for all the workers is 3 times New York's minimum wage. So it's like good paid local quality jobs. And so, because the members ensure 80% of the store label in the model, it means that overhead costs are drastically reduced, and this allows the COP to add a very low and unique markup to all of its products. The fact that the markup is also unique accounts for transparency. I mean, when you buy a product there, you know how much the Co-op paid for it. This allows the selling prices of the products to be very affordable, on average 20 to 40% lower than in other local shops for equivalent products. Other specificities of the model is that it's, let's say, a not-for-profit. We can't say non-profit because, I mean, it has to make profit, but it's a not, profit is not in the center. It's a not-for-profit, democratic and transparent model. So all profits are invested in the co-op or in the community, allowing to develop it further and to respond to the needs and expectations of its members. Members take part in the decision-making process. It's a cooperative following the principle one person, one vote. They are invited to take part in the regular general meetings where decisions are made regarding general policies, use of profits, and so on. And just as I already said, the applied markup is the same store-wide on all of the products, except on some product families, such as fruit and vegetables, to integrate a small loss ratio. But that's all transparently communicated to the members. And all the infos about the shop are also transparent and shared. And also one very interesting thing is that information replaces the usual marketing in the shelves. There are no promotional offers, there are no supplier that is advantage or what. The aim is that in the shelves there is info about, for example, in the egg shelves you will find documentation explaining what the little figures on the eggs mean, for example, and that's something that is replicated in all of the shelves. So what are the impacts of the model? So the main direct impacts are the following. The first one, and that's one of the most important ones, is lower prices. Lower prices actually dramatically increase the access to high quality products. So for instance, at La Louve, but I think it's also the case at Bees Co-op, also at Park Slope, most of the organic fruit and vegetables are cheaper than their non-organic equivalents in the neighboring conventional supermarkets. That means that for the same budget, people have access to better quality food. We also observed that a lot of people can decide to keep the same food standards, but then to spend less money, which also accounts for then a better quality of life or better purchasing power. Another very important thing is that the participatory aspect completely transforms the culture of the supermarket and its ambiance. So it means that members of very different cultural and social backgrounds work together every 4 weeks and get to know each other. They would most likely never would have had the opportunity to meet each other otherwise. And for instance, while they are cutting cheese or packing shelves, they discuss food, politics, their lives, and they actually create a connection to each other. I mean, they're connected to this shop and they're therefore connected to each other and also in extension to their neighborhoods. So the model is also a very interesting way to fight anonymity in big cities, loneliness. We also observe that isolated elderly people and employed people often participate much more than what they are required to, much more than 3 hours per month, just finding at the co-op strong social ties. And so from this informal base, we also see that more formal social and educational structures spring up naturally. In all of the existing co-ops, there is a schedule of member-run cooking classes, food issue awareness workshops, films, concerts, events for kids. and so on. It's not just a supermarket, it's really a social and cultural place where you get to know your neighbors, you get to learn about food and much more projects. So it's, yeah, it's Tom Booth, the founder of La Louve, likes to say that they are like public libraries of foods. Also, so I already talked about that, but the jobs that are created, but that's a very interesting impact, in particular in comparison to normal chain supermarkets, is that the jobs that are created are really quality jobs and with particularly good social conditions. Food waste is lower than in the classical supermarkets. There are different reasons for that. For once, the surface of the shops is really optimized, which means that there are very high volumes of sales for a given square meter surface. High attention is paid to food storage. And last but not least, it's the structure of ownership, is that members who are owners of their store, they are more conscientious about buying soon to expire food or food with visual defects. And we really observe that the food waste ratios are lower than in classic supermarkets. And also there is a focus given on bulk. The bulk products are also sold. And what interesting is that it is also part of the members' shifts to package them, which makes the process rather easy. And since it's volunteer work, you don't have to, I'm finding my word in English, apply an extra markup for this work. So a lot of the added value is not added on the price. And really one of the other very strong impacts of the model is the influence on suppliers, because it's an alternative, it's a cooperative, but it's big. It has big purchasing power. It buys big quantities from some suppliers, and we have already observed that some suppliers have accepted, that is for instance the case at La Louve, to change some of their social or environmental practices. For instance, La Louve convinced its main pork producer and supplier to eliminate the nitrates from many of its products. That's one from many examples. There are lots of examples over the more than 50 years, or almost 50 years of experience at Park Slope, about how practices changed within the suppliers. So, I mean, overall, these are the observed direct impacts, but we really think that if this model comes to develop itself Europe-wide, we really think that cooperative community ownership of supermarkets and regular participation to their daily operations can, as using the same words, transform them into public libraries of food, social and educational gathering spaces that increase for all the access to healthy and high quality foods. And on a wider scale, they can really become powerful levers for effecting change at production and policy levels, and therefore accompany the social and ecological transition. I would like maybe to give you a little more input on the model examples. Erdmuthe, am I still in time, or should I be a bit quicker?
I would say 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and there is already a question for you also, but no, we will come to it then after what you want to
look into that. So what's interesting about the model is that, of course, there are examples, and I would say there are 4 examples that are starting to have 5 examples. Actually, there's Park Slope in New York since 1973, La Louve since 2016, Peace Co-op in Brussels since 2017, and 2 other shops, Supercoop in Lille and La Cagette in Montpellier, that also opened in 2017. And they've all more or less already reached break even, which is a good sign, which means the model is not just socially effective, it's also economically successful. It doesn't make a lot of profits, but it works. And so just a few figures, for instance, and actually economic performance is rather good. At Park Slope, for instance, the sales ratio in turnover per square meters are extremely high, one of the best in the USA. At Coopérative La Louve, they're also very good. But I think, so Coopérative La Louve is probably one of the most interesting examples for us because it's the size is the size that we are trying to aim. So 1,500 square meter, they today have 6,000 active members, 12 workers, paid workers. They make around 8 million, 9 million euros turnover. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, and they've already reached break-even for 2 years. Well, maybe I won't get into more figures. I was thinking maybe have a very quick focus, because this is also the questions that are very often asked about the project is why, what are the purchasing criteria? Why not 100% organic and local? And also why not 100% direct purchasing? That's with a focus on the topic logistics and supply chain. So just very shortly, why not 100% organic and local? Well, that's actually the idea, as I already said, is that the co-op must be a one-stop shopping destination with a very large variety of products. And it needs to be inclusive. And we don't have all of us the same purchasing criteria, and the co-op doesn't want to impose in a top-down approach criteria. There was never a time in history for the Park Slope, and it's also the case for La Louve, when people sat around the table and said, okay, this is our purchasing criteria. It's a bit more complex than that. The choice of the products is guided by taking into account 6 criteria that are all studied with the same seriousness. Sometimes they contradict each other, and that's what is complicated. But so one is environmental impact. We prefer products that are derived from practices that do not damage the environment. 2, local, when possible. We prefer products that do not travel too long to reach us. But of course, I mean, when you know that in the US, but also in France and in Germany, the most sold fruit is banana, you're not going to find a local banana. So that criteria kind of falls out for bananas. Fair trade, we prefer products for which the working conditions and pay of the people who have cultivated or processed them are at least humane and hopefully dignified. And we actually noticed that it is very difficult to know these conditions for a lot of products. 4th, quality of taste. We want products that taste good. And there are sometimes products that give priority to environmental criteria, but don't taste good. So that's also very, very important. And 5, price. This is hugely important for us because it's also an ethical factor. Well, we want people to be able to eat well and eat responsibly. But some people don't have the means to buy the best product available. So we also need to be able to offer them a range of products so they can choose for themselves, also considering budget. This means selling so-called conventional products. It doesn't mean that they take up half of the space in the shop, but I would say around 10–20%. And when we manage to reach big enough quantities for such an organic produce and that its price becomes lower than for its non-organic equivalent, then we're not going to sell the non-organic equivalent anymore. That's the idea. And the last thing, last criteria is a responsibility to meet the culinary needs of the neighborhood. For instance, La Louve in Paris is in a neighborhood where there are a lot of people who have African immigration backgrounds. And that means that we also need to sell products that they need, and sometimes are also not available in organic versions. So that was it about the purchasing criteria. Do I have a little bit of time for supply chains, or maybe we
can we just go to the questions?
Yeah.
No, yeah, because we're unfortunately a bit short of time. Just because what you said links to Jean-François' question. Jean-François, yeah, maybe you would like to have some more details still on the suppliers. Can you maybe just take the floor?
We know BScope in Brussels because we worked with them, we supported them, and they say the same as you said, Maëlanne. It's really important to keep the prices low, but to keep the prices low, you need to buy at least vegetables and fruits through wholesalers. And buying through wholesalers means you don't know where they come from, you don't know if the people working on the field are well paid and are well treated. So you don't know anything about the products, and it's a difficult issue for them also. But they try to deal with this issue in the coming years, but it's difficult, and you have no tracing of the product. It's really difficult. So what was my first question? The second question is about social diversity. You spoke about, and it's BScope is located in Schaerbeek, which is also a socially diversified area in Brussels. But it's really difficult to attract people from this area, and the people who buy, because you need to be cooperator as well, and people who go to BScope are people who are middle class, and in French I would say bobo, but but it's not to be it's not a criticism, but it's really difficult to deal with this issue as well.
Yeah, you're totally right. And so to answer your two questions, so one, the logistics. So I seem to, maybe I'm wrong because I'm not aware of the daily operations of BScope, but I know that they work with a few local fruit and vegetable suppliers in the area. But otherwise, if you actually don't want to have shortages, and if you want to have some kind of a consistent offer in such a big store where it revolves quite a lot, you need to go through wholesalers. In an ideal world, and I found what you presented was very interesting, we would have access to intermediates that are cooperatives, where we know which are that local suppliers are members of these cooperatives, and that so mutualization of logistics is really important. I also know that every city is very different with regards to what you can access. Paris, you need to travel quite a bit to have access to producers. I seem to think that in Belgium it's a bit easier, but for instance in Hamburg, and it's also the case in Munich, we're pretty close to agricultural lands. That means that it is easier to have access directly to producers. And there are also, depending on the city, there can also be some more or less logistics infrastructure or players. And for instance, I know that we're going to learn about Regionalwert, and I know that that's what they're trying also to encourage. So that is, we're really, huge supporters of CSAs in English, also AMAP und so weiter. Sorry, I'm mixing the languages. But for such a big critical size, we're trying to bring in a solution that allows dense cities to feed themselves. And it's just that today we don't have sufficient infrastructure to allow everyone to have access to small local suppliers. But the dream would be to be able to put all of the consumer initiatives together to strengthen, to develop together logistics solutions and so on. And I know that BISCOP in Brussels is implied in such projects. That's what we would like to do here in Hamburg, and I know that La Louve would like to do that also with the co-op in Lille and so on. It's very complicated to deal with all of the problems all along the value chain at the same time. So we're focusing on the end bits, and hopefully we can together ally our forces and go up along the chain. And so your second question about social diversity, you are totally right. Such a project is culturally not so easily accessible. A cooperative, owner of the shop, working in the shop, that takes a while, and diversity is a long-term process. Park Slope, for instance, with almost 50 years of existence, is for Brooklyn and New York very diverse, but that's because they've been here for 50 years, they are known, word of mouth works, and people know that it's just one of the best places to get good food at low prices in New York. There's even more problems about food justice in the US. So, I mean, the solution is all the more appreciated. In Paris, diversity is slowly coming, but I mean, you really need, it's a long-term process. And I know that in BISCOP, they've been putting that in the center from the beginning, and they know it's difficult. And you need to remain open on being in constant dialogue with your neighborhood to adapt your practices to it. It's really one of the difficulties of the model. How do you manage to be socially diverse? And really at the beginning, it's mostly people that are already convinced that come in, and we need to be able to have place for other people.
Thank you, Maëlanne. I have to speed up a little bit in the moderation, but I think this is maybe also a topic to be brought to the attention of local authorities, public authorities that are part of this project also, because I think here maybe also their active initiatives could help maybe a bit. Just very quickly, there are two other questions. Can you shortly respond to them? And then I think we have to go on because we still want to hear also about the Regionalwert model, even though I think, yeah, we could talk much longer about the initiative as well, about BISCOP and the Supercoop model. Nuno is asking, in Marseille, the model is taking longer to impose itself because they haven't yet enough people to assure just 3 hours per month, so working time. How long to achieve a balanced number of members? And the same goes for the initial location buying of the store. Did you have any public support?
That's a very important point. Public support from the beginning is really important, in particular with regards to finding a location, because we need a rather big surface. It can't be very expensive, even though we have the capacity to pay a rental price, but it can't be very, very expensive. And the thing is that when you don't know where you're going to set up, it's hard to recruit sufficient members. And of course, when you have a prototype or a small boutique, to build up the community, you can't occupy everyone 3 hours per month. And that's why institutional local public support is so important. At La Louve, for instance, already in 2013, we knew, and the shop opened in 2016, we knew where we would be because the city of Paris really liked the project and supported it from the beginning and reserved basement and ground floor surface for it in a social housing project. And that allowed the planning, that allowed to recruit the members beforehand and so on. And that was a huge chance. And I know that in Marseille, if I'm not mistaken, Supercoop, ja, glaube ich, die haben noch keine Ort gefunden.
Now you spoke German.
Oh, sorry.
But can you just repeat the last sentence?
I'm sorry. Supercoop in Marseille, I think they just haven't found their surface yet. the big one. They have a small shop, but they haven't found the surface because it's just so complicated to find 1,000 square meters in dense areas, especially when you're starting your activity and you're a social business. You need support from the city.
Okay, just the last question about skills. Logistics, sales, specific IT tools, how or where do they learn these long supply chain competences? Are there members who have worked in classical supermarkets? Do they make up their own, create their own tools or procedures along the way? How does it work?
Yeah, totally. La Louve has started developing in 2013 its own open source software, ERP, including all of the functions, logistics, sales, accounting, and so on. The competencies build themselves along the way according to who comes in, who is a member, who wants to help. But now there are a lot of mutualization. There are groups working together between the different co-ops to develop, because it costs quite a lot of money to develop such tools. And in particular, I mean, it's quite easy to find store supermarket management tools, so IT tools, but this membership and member work module is the most complex one, and you need to connect it to the rest. And so La Louve and the other co-ops developed together. BSCOP, I know, uses a slightly different module, but they use an open source software called Odoo, and now it's quite well developed, and it's hundreds of thousands of euros of investment that went into it, but now it's made available for the other co-ops to use it. There's a translation underway right now in Germany.
Thank you. Another question, just would this model be viable without the work provided by the members?
No, it's the source. It's one of its basis principles. Or the prices would be very high. I mean, we could be a normal organic products, local products supermarket that belongs to its to members, but they would just pay more, and there would be more workers in the shop, and then you wouldn't have the same effect. The connection with the co-op also comes from the time you spend there, among other things.
Okay, thank you, Maëlanne. Last question, are also producers members of the cooperative?
Although in La Louve, no. I know there are some co-ops that did that. For instance, Les Grains-Sel in Paris 13e or Scopelli in Nantes. That's really a question of governance and democracy. It's a possibility, and some of the co-ops have chosen to do so. I don't know how they stand at Bees Co-op regarding that. Maybe Jean-François knows, I don't know.
Okay, so different possibilities, apparently.
The model must adapt itself to its local needs and opportunities. Huh?
Okay. Maëlanne, thank you. Really, thank you very much. I already wrote in the chat that we will send the presentations, but also, yeah, all the links, yeah, you're providing the video, etc., to all the participants then after the webinar, and also all the contacts of the speakers, if all speakers agree. So you can, maybe if you have another question or you would like to directly get in touch, you can contact Maëlanne, Jean-François, and also Regionalwert or Caroline and Mats, if you agree. So thank you very much, Maëlanne. We spoke a lot now about trust, about creating different relationships involving citizens. Now you also mentioned in your discussions the importance of transparency, or the challenge of transparency. And I think there is another challenge that is often mentioned, and the question that, but that I think did not yet come up in the chat, which is about financing and possibilities to invest in local supply chains. This is actually why we thought it would be interesting to have Regionalwert with us, because you're combining all the different elements. Actually, we spoke about participation, citizen involvement, and there is also this creation of local supply chain and investment topic. Thank you very much, Johanna and Emilie. I don't know if you speak, both of you, but welcome to both of you. I will leave you the floor to present the model, and I will also, I would propose the following, because we have actually with us also Mats and Caroline from the region, they are based in the region of Östergötland in Sweden, who actually did a feasibility study on how they would be, or if it would be possible to apply a similar model in their region. And I would propose that you follow with your presentation of the feasibility study, because this will then already be a kind of bridge towards the discussion. And then we follow with questions and answers. So Johanna and Emilie, thank you for being here. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting us. I'm gonna try sharing my screen. Okay, I guess you should see my screen now. Okay, so my colleague Emilie Fuß and I are going to present you the concept of Regionalwert AG Freiburg today, which is a capital management organization to promote environmental, regional, economic, and socially sustainable regional food systems. That's quite a big title, but it's also quite a big idea behind it, and we're going to give you a little introduction to it today. First of all, I want to explain you how the idea came up and how it all started. The founder of Regionalwert AG, Christian Hiss, actually was a vegetable farmer. He learned being a vegetable farmer, and he experienced several challenges in the 1990s, like the need to offer product prices too low to cover their costs. So he tried to produce socially and economically sustainable products, but like the market was so challenging that it was really hard to be sustainable and economic on the same time. And he also faced problems to access capital because his social, ecological, and regional value creation were not recognized as financial assets, but only as costs. So this is a problem that many farmers face who try to act sustainably and are faced with the challenges of the market. So his solution was to form a capital shareholder company in 2006, Regionalwert AG, with the key vision behind it: social, ecological, and regional economic services need to be financially valued. So the big idea is that these sustainability services cannot stand as a good idea next to the economic service to provide food. It needs to be financially valued. And he was also convinced that many people of the regions, also citizens, see this challenge and are willing to invest in their region and get involved in a project to make their region more valuable and support farmers and other food companies that are sustainably involved. So I tried to put it in a little picture how the concept of Regionalwert AG works. So people from the city, citizens of Freiburg, can invest money by buying shares at Regionalwert AG. And Regionalwert AG again invests the money in farms, in food companies, which are organic and which also yeah, try to be socially fair and so on. And by this, we create a network, a value-added network, where people who work in the food industry get connected, get supported by Regionalwert AG, and also they provide food and also jobs and so on for the region, for the people who live in Freiburg, the citizens of Freiburg again. To put it in words, some key aspects of Regionalwert AG Freiburg are that citizens take responsibility for their regions by becoming shareholders. So they actually get involved. Regionalwert AG invests equity capital in small and medium-sized enterprises along the entire value chain of the agricultural and food industry. So we really try to support the whole value chain of food production. Regionalwert AG organizes the cooperation of capital providers and partner companies for the development of a value-added region. And by now we have a share capital of over 4 million euros and over 800 shareholders here in Freiburg. And one key aspect is that all the people who invest money in this company are convinced that social, ecological, and regional economic services are part of the return on investment. So it's not only money that is seen as profit, but also all the services that these companies provide for the region. And just one quick note, I'm always talking about Regionalwert AG. This stands for Regional Value Citizen Shareholder Company, just to mention the translation. And so the idea started in Freiburg, like in the very left downside corner of this map, but it's a very successful idea, a very successful company that spreads over Germany and also over Europe by now. We have more than 5 established Regionalwert AGs in Germany. So the 800 shareholders were only in Freiburg. Like considering whole Germany, there are way more. And yeah, more and more regions are interested and about to form more corporations, and also first neighboring countries show interest. And yeah, it's a very, very successful model. The goals behind the Regionalwert AG are to create regional food sovereignty. So to have resilience, economic independency, and involvement and responsibility of the citizens for the region. We also want to make a contract between the companies and society. So we want to connect urban consumers with agricultural producers. Another goal is the networking of the entire regional value chain. So we have a matchmaking of regional businesses to improve local social capital and network relations, and companies within the network support each other. So we really bring companies as well as other stakeholders and citizens together. And we also want to reveal sustainability services and risks of company management. And for this, we conduct research projects, and also we develop sustainability accounting tools for agricultural businesses. This is like the overall idea that stands behind Regionalwert AG and Regionalwert AG Freiburg and all the other ones that spread across Germany. And my colleague Emilie is now going to get a little deeper on the fields of activity of us in Freiburg, and because we do a little more than the creating this network, we have more fields of activity, and also she's going to show you our partners and so on.
Okay, thank you very much, Johanna. So now I'm going to present you some of the fields of activity, how we are achieving our goals. So there are 3 blocks. The first block is the value creation network. We heard already about it. So we have partner businesses along the food value chain. So we have agricultural producers, we have organic shops, wholesalers, we have a restaurant, and so on. And all of these businesses are connected within the network and support each other. And Regionalwert AG is allocating the capital within the value creation network and is also offering consultancy services for these businesses. So if you are like a Regionalwert AG partner business, you also have like this small sign, which you can see in the right of the slide. Then the second field of activity is our research. So we are also involved in research about true value accounting for sustainable agriculture and food systems. As Johanna already explained, there is a big idea behind making social, environmental, and regional economic services visible and integrate them into normal financial accounting. And for this, we have also developed some sustainability assessment tools in the field of agriculture, which is the Regionalwert sustainability analysis, which can be performed by farmers, and also a performance calculation where there is like a monetization of these sustainability services. So we're calculating, or like trying to calculate a value in euros for the performance of sustainability services. In more detail, the field of activity number 1, which I told you already, the value creation network. So within the partner network, there are at the moment 6 agricultural producers, 3 organic markets, 2 wholesalers, 3 processors, 1 delivery service, and further partners in the service and social sector. For example, there's also one business which is working with disabled people. So we are trying to integrate different aspects within the network. Then, as already also said, the network is facilitating the matchmaking between partner businesses to improve local social capital and network relations. For this, we also have at least 4 network gatherings per year, where the people who are involved can meet each other and develop new ideas. New partners are coming into the network, they get to know each other, and and they build trust. Actually, I also wanted to talk about the aspect of trust, because I think it's also a very trustful relation between the partners within the network, and they support each other. For example, they can compensate for temporary market fluctuations and reduce costs between each other. And also companies can support each other within the regional production and retail chain. For example, waste from a vegetable farm is used as animal fodder by a dairy farm, and cow dung from this dairy farm is then used as a fertilizer by the vegetable farm. And these 2 businesses can be within a distance of, I don't know, 10 kilometers. And also talking about the aspect of regionality or locality. So our value creation network comprises a radius of 75 kilometers. Here you can see some pictures of our partner businesses. So we have like a vegetable farm, we have like a dairy farm, then you can see the organic market, the delivery service. And for example, they are all connected with each other. Then you have a restaurant. So for example, the restaurant is using the products of the vegetable farm and the dairy farm, and the organic market is receiving its products from the wholesaler, which is just 20 kilometers away maybe. Then you can also see at the right middle, you can see a business which is delivering food to kindergartens. So it's like a catering delivery service. And we are also in the phase of planning a big regional organic catering business. So this is like at the moment the project is starting. Next slide. Exactly. So the capital, which is received by the shareholders, is allocated within the value creation network. For example, Regionalwert AG is buying machineries, tools, buying land, renting infrastructure with this capital in order to stabilize the regional agriculture. Then one other field of activity is the support in the finding of non-family successors to farmland. So we face the problem that is the next generations often are not like continuing the farm activities of their parents. So there's a problem that there are no successors, and Regionalwert AG is helping to find and assist young people who want to start up agricultural businesses, continue, take them over. And we are also supporting the creation of new businesses in the organic food sector along the whole value chain, as I was speaking of this organic catering for schools and kindergartens, which is just now in the process of being created. Next. Then the second block of activities is our research. So far we have developed over 180 indicators in our research projects, representing complex economic, social, and ecological factors and their interdependencies. These indicators are a central element of the evaluation of each enterprise's success and the presentation to shareholders. So of course we also make to our shareholders, we make everything transparent. Once per year they get like they're invited into a reunion, and they get also a report about what Regionalwert AG has done also with the money, and how are the partners, and what has been the developments within the network. And these indicators are a way to make these things transparent. And they're also our tool in order to make these sustainability services visible, and also monetize them and give them like a monetary value in euros. And yes, with the overall goal to create an extended sustainability accounting for businesses in the agriculture and food sector. So we are having our research projects where we are developing the idea, and of course we are also applying our ideas and methods within our own network. Next, so along the way we have also developed sustainability assessment tools, where we are like where we're integrating these sustainability indicators that I have been speaking of. So first, the first tool we developed is the Regionalwert Sustainability Assessment for Farm Management. This is a tool where farmers can just use this tool in order to evaluate and get an impression and transparency about their own sustainability performances and risks. And from this, we have also developed the Regionalwert Performance Calculation for financial evaluation of sustainability services. So this is where we also have the monetization of the sustainability performances and risks. Next. And this has been maybe a lot. So in summary, the two main aspects to take home is that Regionalwert AG creates a value-added network to enable regional food sovereignty. And we conduct projects and develop products to value social, ecological, and regional economic services financially. You can find more information about the concept and also about the research projects following these two links. And exactly, like to repeat, the main vision of us is that social, ecological, and regional economic services need to be identified, evaluated, and rewarded. Thank you for your attention, and now we are open to questions if we have enough time.
Thank you, Johanna and Emilie. Caroline and Mats. You carried out or were the authors or main coordinators of a feasibility study on the Regionalwert model in the Östergötland, East Sweden region. What are the results of this? So why were you interested in the model, and what were the results? Tell us a bit more about this, and then we have a discussion. You will have the opportunity to ask questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Do you hear me and do you see the screen? Yeah, perfect. Thank you for inviting us here, Erdmuthe. It has been really interesting to listen to all the presentations, and I think both me and Mats, we are taking a lot of inspiration from all the really creative ideas. Just shortly, I was the project leader for this project, and I'm part-time also organic farmer. I have an organic farm together with my family. So that's a little bit about me. Mats, do you just shortly want to present you before we go into the project?
Okay, well, I'm working on my own as a freelance in sustainable development issues mostly on a general societal level, and I think it's important to integrate the global perspective with a local perspective, and I think there's a lack of that very often. So I was a part in these projects, and I will participate in the presentation. And I would like to add what Caroline said. This is very interesting for us to hear what you are doing, and we are learning a lot for just participating in this presentation and seminar. Caroline,
yeah.
could you show the screen mode maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to do that. Thank you, Mats. That's better. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Just shortly, I want to give you a brief background and the reason why this project started here in Sweden and in Östergötland. Östergötland is in southeast of Sweden. So the key actors at Vreta Cluster had a meeting in 2018 in November concerning the lack of external capital within the green sector. And Vreta Cluster, that is you could call it a business park for companies within the green sector. I think, Erdmuthe, you have been there maybe. So after this meeting, it was an arrangement of a conference called Green Investment Day in September 2019. And Christian Hiss from Freiburg was invited. And there were a lot of interesting discussions and questions to him. And from this conference, there was more discussions at Vreta Cluster, and a project idea was formalized, and we applied for project money, and the project started then in March 2020. So we have two standpoints actually for this project, and the first is that it is existing a gap in the financial structure where entrepreneurs within the green sector got difficulties to access risk capital, just as Johanna and Emilie said before. And the second standpoint confirms that the interest among people to consume locally produced food, and they are also interested in non-managed monetary values. These are the two kind of standpoints for the project. So the purpose is to study the model in Freiburg and to see if something similar could fit into our region. So we have some connection we have a regional food strategy in Sweden, both nationally and regionally. So we attach to this one and also the SDG. And concerning the non-monetary values, because that's a focus in the project, we define them as, for example, to have a living countryside, sustainability and concern about the environment, and that it's valuable to have a regional food chain and higher self-sufficiency on food. So that's a little bit of focus in the project. So the title of the project is to secure our local food chain through citizen-supported finances. And the lead partner, as I said, it's Vreta Cluster, which is a business cluster for green sector, financed through European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development. And we had approximately €54 in budget. It was ongoing for a year, so it ended this spring. And the consortium was actually Vreta Kluster together with four consultancy firms, and they had competence within accounting, agriculture, social development, communication, and economy. And to that we had a reference group that had a little bit broader competence, and including also a politicians and a civil servant on the regional level. So we had 3 meetings together with this reference group. So, and here we have, we started with a pre-study, as I said, for Regionalwert Freiburg. And I think I don't have to go through this so very much because you did it very nice, Johanna. You had a model as well. So I think I just go on to the next slide. And there is also what you said about the main principles about Regionalwert Freiburg and how you realize the main principles. So what we did after describing the Regionalwert Freiburg was to actually do a scan of what kind of capital was accessible in Sweden for entrepreneurs within the green sector. And we were documenting their offers and the offsets they demanded, and if they were common within the green sector. And we also did a short SWOT analysis of the possibilities and the limitations they had. And finally, we made the costs visible for each alternative. So what we found out here through this brief scan was that the most common alternative for lending out money within the green sector is, of course, the bank. The difficulty with the bank is that in some situations, the entrepreneurs could have a maximum loan with the real estate as security. But in this situation, it could be hard to get additional loan for the operational part of the company, even though it is a profitable business idea. So that is a little bit the gap in the financial structure. And the crowdfunding is a system that is that we saw was most alike the Regionalwert Freiburg model, but with some differences, that it is based on social media and more common among the communication-based companies rather than agriculture. And the share owners also tend to be more anonymized within crowdfunding than the Regionalwert Freiburg. You want to have a face of your owners, the one that got the shares in Regionalwert Freiburg, as we understood it. So with our quite small resources in the project, we managed to do a smaller exploratory survey for the consumers on one hand and on the producers on the other hand. This to investigate the interest for a similar model as in Freiburg. So we start on the consumer side. There we did interviews with consumers at a RECO ring. I don't know if you have such things in Europe. I think it came originally from France, but that is a phenomenon that really exploded in Sweden the last years. And that's where producers are marketing their products on Facebook. And the consumers make the order as a reply on the Facebook message. And on forehand decided time and place, all the producers are gathered so that the consumers could get the ordered products. And this is normally every second week. And this is a fantastic market channel initiated by producers themselves without any head organization or middle hands or costs. It's just a direct contact between entrepreneurs and citizens. And by today, I think we have over 200 RECO rings in Sweden. So we chose to pick consumers from RECO because we knew that they are choosing locally produced food. And we wanted to know the reason why they chose the locally produced food. And the most common reason for choosing it was that they want to contribute to a higher self-sufficiency, and they want to have sustainable production of food. And last but not least, they wanted also to benefit the local economy. So, and the research among the producer was parted in two, because the first part was interrupted because we realized the difficulty to ask about a model that wasn't developed in Sweden yet. So in part two, we interviewed 6 different companies covering a broad spectrum of production within agriculture. And we asked the entrepreneurs whether they've been in a situation where the development of the business was hindered because lack of external capital. And most of the company answered no on this specific question, and were spontaneously a bit skeptic to involve external capital and owner in their often family-owned company. So there is a certain prestige in running your own business, and therefore also difficulty to let stranger be involved in the companies. I don't know if you experience the same in Freiburg. Maybe it depends on how you're anchored the idea, I suppose. But the need of external capital within the green sector has been verified in many other ways, I would say, for example, by consultancies within the sector, and it has been an identified problem ever since Beta Cluster started their business park. So I want to give the floor to you, Mats, to go on and tell us more about the project results.
Yeah, well, within the discussions we had among with the participants, with the reference group and the project group, it showed rather quickly that there were different perspectives. There were those that were very focused on the financing issue and find out ways for financing, and then it came up the difficulties for financing these kind of companies, as they are not very profitable and they don't grow as much as traditional venture capital expect and want to have. Although there are parts in the venture capital field that could accept lower growth and lower rentability. But so that was one perspective of the whole. And the other perspective is a broader, including those values that Regionalwert Freiburg focus very much on. And we divided that in 2 separated parts. And one is the society, as there's a regional food strategy that focus on those things that I mentioned here: the local economy, living countryside, crisis management in case of natural disasters, for wildfires and floodings and things like that. Then it's very important to have people living on the countryside, because they are actually those that are taking care of these difficulties, and also the resilience of the supply chain. And then in case of the preparedness of Sweden being having difficulties for energy supply or any other difficulties in the surrounding world, it's important to have the food sovereignty locally established. And then the value of recreation of the countryside, which is, at least in Sweden, very important for a lot of people, and also for the tourists. That requires that there are people living there, and as you know, people is a very sparsely populated country. So it's a question of really having people living at the countryside. Otherwise, it will be empty. And of course, a general interest and concern about the resilience of the ecosystem, and that is pronounced by authorities, these things, rather clearly, although they are not doing very much, but it's in policy documents that this is very clearly spelled out. And when it comes to citizens, a lot of people are looking for locally produced food. They're looking for better quality, and they are concerned about the environmental impact in general and in the food production. And they also have an interest and see the importance of societal development, especially when it comes to the social issues, as the society is getting more and more separated in different groups of people, and to a certain extent they are getting opposed to each other. So this is a picture, and we're trying to combine these perspectives and interests. So let's have the next picture, this next slide. Okay, it moves. Next slide, Caroline. It doesn't happen anything.
Sorry, it's my computer just doesn't work. Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. Maybe just still 3 more minutes, just to leave some time for questions.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's it. So yes, to mention this, we do very much copy the model of Regionalwert Freiburg, although we separate the supporting part of it in a non-profit association and suggest that we have an investment company owned by the non-profit association, and they are supporting a number of different companies, and also at a long range, maybe a digital market. So let's have the next picture. Next slide. I think that was a little bit too ahead. Yeah. So the conclusions that we found was that Regionalwert Freiburg the basic idea is completely relevant for us, but we think that we should have another organizational structure. And there is a need for alternative financing in the farming and food business, very clearly. And the pre-study, although it's very limited, indicates that there's an interest from consumer, and there's a cautious interest also among investors. And we recommend to continue with this. And I think we get to the next slide then, because that is not very important. What we think we need to focus on is to create some combination of this focus on investment and focus on the non-monetary values and the social issues and environmental issues that are basis in this. And at least I found it very interesting to hear the examples that have been given now in the seminar when it comes to organize and support selling activities for these small farmers and a lot of initiatives. And the food market in Sweden is very dominated by 3 big actors. And if you don't manage to deliver the big quantities that they are interested of, it's very difficult to sell anything. And you need new channels for delivering your food and sell your products. And to sum up, I think I have written that it should not be system innovation. It should instead be innovation of systems. There's a lot of talk of system innovation when it comes to develop the private sector. And we have to include a bigger picture when it comes to the importance of the role of the supply chain for food in the society. So the next step will be to suggest some continued work for this, and these inputs that we have received now are part of that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Paulina and Mats, and sorry for putting pressure on you.
That's okay.
Maybe we have to finish also for the interpreters, because there was no break at 1:30. But please, if you have any questions, then this is now the moment. There has already been a discussion with Emilie and also Johanna in the chat. But yeah, maybe there is a possibility for some more questions to them and also to the Swedish colleagues. No any more questions. Maybe Johanna and Emilie, would you like to quickly take the floor concerning the question you were asked regarding the motivation for wholesalers, etc., and other type of actors to enter Regionalwert AG? Are you still there? Yes.
Okay, yes. Well, I was like in mute. I also answered it, but I can just like say what I wrote because not everybody's following the chat maybe. So I think the motivation is, for example, the short supply chains, because also wholesalers have like a really high CO2 footprint. So at least maybe they can reduce already in the way that they have organic stores that they deliver to, which are like close by, instead of driving whole Germany maybe. Then they want to support the regional economy, have trustful and more direct business contracts, and also yeah, I think this is like also a point. And as I also said, like they're like kind of there is a possibility to compensate for temporary market fluctuations. So I mean, if you have this kind of relationship, it's easier to talk and about the things and still keep like a good relationship. And then there was also a question about the obligation. So there's no obligation to only buy or have partners, business partners who are in the network. That's not like this. It's an option.
It's rather a really good chance to connect with others from the network. It's not an obligation. Yeah.
And our wholesaler, for example, we have 2 wholesalers in our network, and they are just really like pioneers, like in the organic, in the organic food. How to say? Like they're like these are businesses which exist since many years already, and they're very active in the whole topic and field of sustainable agriculture, sustainable food. They participate in research projects. They're also part of the Sovereignty Council. They have also this intrinsic motivation. Simply, they're just convinced of that, of the model, and this is the right thing. So,
thank you, Emilie. If there are no other questions or any other questions to which Emilie and Johanna didn't answer already in the chat, I would have just one question to Carolina and Mats. This is something I was curious about also when we spoke before, because you were now talking about this model or thinking about this model of association and investment company apart. And can you just a bit shortly explain how you're tackling now this question of governance? Because yeah, who will have the final say actually about what will be done, about the strategy, the vision? Is it then the investors? How will the investment company be governed? Which are the relationships then to the association and its members? Have you worked on it already? Because this was a challenge, you said.
Well, who's going to answer that?
Start you can start, Mats, okay. And I could follow.
First of all, this is an open question. So it's a question of raising interest and making the right thing for promoting the thing that we want to support, the mission of it, and to make it work. So that it's not defined at the moment, but the discussion and that have been, and my feeling is that this will be a very important issue, and the member association, the non-profit association, will be the owner of the investment company. So they may write the statutes how it should be managed, and And then, of course, when it comes, so there are two relations here we are talking about: the relation between the non-profit organization and the investment company, and the relation between the investment company and the producers. And all these had to be regulated in a way that fits into the objectives. And I don't think we can say much more than that at the moment. But what we can say is that we don't have anything that we can easily copy. So we're gathering ideas from different places and try to design something new.
And we also have some different preconditions between our different countries. And for example, in Sweden, a limited company are not allowed to own land. Agricultural land. So I think that's a little bit of a difference to Germany, and that makes our preconditions different to the model you have in Freiburg as well.
Yeah. So
that's an interesting aspect. I also didn't know that.
Yeah. But one thing that is important, Caroline mentioned it very quickly, is that the most of the farmers, they don't want to have anyone taking the command over their business. So when it comes to the investment company and venture capital, we have to find a way that the owner of the land and the farmer have the last say of their business.
That
have been very
I mean,
clear.
for us, we had like the people who are working in this were for decades farmers themselves. So maybe it was also easier to get like a step into this and have the relation. They're also from the region, you know, so also something.
The regional focus has been rather clear in the ideas.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we could still discuss, but I hope this won't be the last time we met or you as participants met each other, and there will be other possibilities also, but not only within the SOECLOSE initiative. Thank you all, really, to all the speakers for being here or having been with us. We hope that with this seminar, however, webinar, we could maybe show or could again just be aware of the possibility to bring about change, even if it sometimes has to happen. It happens on a small scale, and there are still a number of challenges to overcome, depending sometimes on the local context. But yeah, sometimes we've seen there are also very similar questions that have to be solved regarding size of producer size, regarding linked transparency topics, regarding just mobilization of society in general, cooperation also with public authorities. I think this is something we also still have to dig deeper in the framework of SOECLOSE and other initiatives. So we hope we will all have a possibility to stay in touch. There will be, as Isa said, other workshops and also 2 other webinars at the start. Thank you all for being there, and have a good rest of the day.